Good evening. The Supreme Court grants the Department of Justice's request to transfer the sexual abuse case against Kingdom of Jesus Christ founder Apollo Quiboloy from a court in Davao City to Quezon City. Quiboloy and several others are charged with violation of the Republic Act 7610 or the Anti-Child Abuse Law, specifically the provision on sexual abuse of minors and maltreatment. They are also facing a case for qualified human trafficking before a passing city court. The DOJ wanted the transfer of the case's trial for the protection of the victims, their relatives, and the witnesses. In its administrative order issued Tuesday, May 28, the Supreme Court says it found compelling reasons to justify the transfer of venue as the cases involve public interests, with the accused, a well-known religious leader, being influential in the area. The court says this could cause local biases and a strong possibility that witnesses cannot freely testify due to fear and influence of the accused. The branch clerk of Davao, Court of Davao, Regional Trial Court Branch 12, is given 3 days from receipt of notice to forward all records of the case to the Executive Judge of Quezon City. The High Court ordered the Executive Judge of Quezon City to raffle the case upon receipt of the records from Davao and to decide the case with dispatch. It further directed the judges in Davao City and in other stations in Mindanao where future cases involving Quiboloy will be filed to transmit the records of the case to the Quezon City Court. Police say the personal assistant of embattled Kingdom of Jesus Christ founder Apollo Quiboloy surrendered 21 firearms in Davao City. According to the Philippine National Police, 21 firearms belonging to Crescente Chavez, Canada, were surrendered through a lawyer at the Kingdom of Jesus Christ compound along the Phil-Japan Friendship Highway in Barangay Sasa at about 6:30 a.m. on Saturday. All surrendered firearms, many of which are high-powered, are now in the custody of Criminal Investigation and Detection Group in Davao City for proper documentation and disposition. These guns are on top of the initial 5 firearms, which were surrendered by Quiboloy's camp following the order canceling his license to own and possess firearms from PNP Chief General Romel Marbel. The Firearms and Explosives Office of the PNP released its recommendation to revoke Quiboloy's license to own and possess firearms after Senator Risa Ontiveros insisted that the religious leader is armed and dangerous. 2 separately issued arrest orders for Quiboloy are in effect for sexual abuse and human trafficking charges. Apart from these cases, a warrant of arrest issued by the Senate panel on women headed by Ontiveros had also been released. The Philippines signed 3 deals in a letter of intent during the 2-day state visit of President Bongbong Marcos in Brunei to generate more jobs and accelerate economic transformation. According to Communications Secretary Cheloy Garafil, the 2 countries signed a memoranda of agreements on tourism cooperation, on maritime cooperation, and on mutual recognition of standards of training, certification, and watchkeeping certificates. Garafil said a letter of intent to renew Memorandum of Understanding on Food Security and Agricultural Cooperation was also forged. Marcos is in Brunei for a 2-day state visit to meet with Brunei's Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah and other government and business leaders. He also met with the Filipino community in Brunei. Following his trip to Brunei, the president will fly to Singapore to speak at the International Institute for Strategic Studies Shangri-La Dialogue, Asia's premier defense summit. Marcos's visit to Brunei and Singapore mark his 27th and 28th overseas trips since he assumed office in 2022. The number of suspected Chinese maritime militia and Coast Guard vessels in Scarborough Shoal sharply decreased, while all of Beijing's warships also left after the trip of a civilian convoy there. According to the Philippine Navy's data, only 19 Chinese ships were spotted around Scarborough Shoal from May 21 to 27, including 5 China Coast Guard vessels and 14 Chinese maritime militia vessels. No People's Liberation Army Navy warships were monitored during this time. This total was a sharp decrease from May 14 to 20, when there were a total of 55 Chinese ships in the shoal, including 9 China Coast Guard vessels, 4 People's Liberation Army Navy warships, and 42 Chinese maritime militia vessels. The civilian convoy of Atenito to the atoll began on May 15 and lasted until May 17. It aimed to distribute supplies to Filipino fishermen and assert the Philippines' rights to the disputed waterway. The Philippine Coast Guard previously flagged the huge deployment of China Coast Guard vessels during the civilian mission, calling it an overkill. China seized control of Scarborough Shoal's lagoon in 2012 after the China Coast Guard standoff with Philippine vessels. But a 2016 arbitral ruling declared Scarborough Shoal a traditional fishing ground that should be shared by the Philippines, China, and Vietnam. In apparent violation of this ruling, the China Coast Guard prevents Filipino fishermen from entering the territorial waters of Scarborough Shoal. The initial result of Senate President Pro Tempore Jinggoy Estrada's survey shows a neck-and-neck fight for and against the controversial divorce bill. Based on a list that Estrada released to the media on Tuesday, May 28, 5 senators have so far voted in favor of divorce, while 5 said they are against it. Senators backing the proposed divorce law are Robin Padilla, Grace Poe, Risa Hontiveros, Amy Marcos, Pia Cayetano, and Rafi Tulfo. Meanwhile, Estrada included his name in the list of lawmakers against it, along with newly installed Senate President Cheese Escudero, Majority Leader Francis Tolentino, and Senators Joel Villanueva and Bato de la Rosa. In an interview with reporters, Estrada says he believed it was a good idea to get the senators' opinions after the House of Representatives passed on third reading the divorce bill. Before adjourning the second regular session of the 19th Congress last week, the House of Representatives approved on May 22 the controversial divorce bill, with 126 members voting for it. A total of 109 members voted against the suggested law, while 20 members abstained from voting. Later, the House clarified that 131 members and not 126 voted to approve the measure. President Bongbong Marcos has signed the Eddie Garcia Law. Republic Act 11996 was named after the multi-awarded veteran actor Eddie Garcia, who died on June 20, 2019. The 90-year-old actor suffered a neck injury after he tripped and fell while shooting for an upcoming teleserye. The new law mandates work hours, wages, other non-wage benefits, and more for movie and television workers. According to the new law, workers and employers must also have an agreement executed in a language or dialect that is understood by both parties. The law also protects workers against discrimination, especially in terms of race, color, descent, national origin, or religion. Employers violating the law will be fined up to 100,000 pesos for the first offense, 200,000 pesos for the second offense, and up to 500,000 pesos for the third and succeeding offenses. Here's the latest roundup of today's top stories. Supreme Court orders transfer of sexual abuse case against Quiboloy from Davao City to Quezon City. Reported deaths due to Typhoon Aghon climbs to 6. And President Marcos signs Eddie Garcia Law. These are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.